In Chapter 9, I introduced the theme of deception with the famous Sun Tzu quote, "All warfare is based on deception." With Chapters 10 and 11, I'll continue to develop the deception theme. The entire quote is, "All warfare is based on deception. Hence, when able to attack, we must seem unable. When using our forces, we must seem inactive. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we are far away. When far away, we must make him believe we are near. Hold out baits to entice the enemy. Feign disorder and crush him." With this in mind, assume for a moment that you've been playing poker for a few hours against the same opponents. If they are in the least observant, they will have noticed that you typically fold early, and the only times you stay to the showdown is when you've made one of the premium hands: straight, flush, full house, and occasionally trips. It will become obvious to nearly everyone that you are rock, and they'll be reluctant to engage you unless they also hold a premium hand. In short, it'll be difficult to make your winning hands pay off. In the language of poker, your opponents won't give you any action. This raises the question, how can you deceive them into believing that you are not a rock? One way is to give them more action by very selectively playing lesser hands. Chapter 10 explores which lesser hands to include in your game. As you'll see, playing lesser hands will have a significant impact on your game. You'll be playing more hands, so not only will the game be more fun than when you were mostly folding, but you'll be perceived as giving more action. Your pre-flop pot odds will shift dramatically upward, providing legitimate reasons for pre-flop raising, which will ultimately increase your profits. And finally, because you're giving more action, you'll receive more action, so that when you actually do make a premium hand, you'll have more callers, which will also increase your profits. Thus far, we've explored the target hands, trips, straights, flushes, and full houses. With each, I've presented the probabilities involved in making a target hand from their various partial target hands to define their major and minor milestones. Now the time has come to add 2-pair to your list of target hands. Our analysis will proceed as though 2-pair is just another drawing hand, much like the other target hands. So even though you may occasionally win with 1-pair, this will typically only occur while attempting to draw to 2-pair. Obviously, the best way to make 2-pair is on the flop, when you have the maximum possibility of improving. With 2 cards to come, 2-pair has a 16% probability of making full house or quads. But most often you'll either flop just a pair, or you'll miss the flop completely. When the flop pairs just one of your whole cards, you still have a reasonable chance of improving. With 2 cards to come, there are 5 cards in the deck that will improve your hand to 2-pair, trips, full house, or quads. That constitutes a 20% probability. So you'll need 5 players in the hand to receive correct pot odds to make this a good bet. If after the flop you have no pairs, your chances of making 2-pair by the river are only about 1.5%. Hopefully you already understand how much of a bad bet it would be to continue playing such a hand. So even with 2 overcards, continuing with a hand only makes sense if you flop some other milestone. In theory, any pair could be considered a major milestone toward achieving 2-pair, but we'll just consider top pair. Other possible major milestones exist, of course, such as 1-pair plus an overcard, and 1-pair plus a 3 straight or a 3 flush, but your best chances lie with top pair. The reason for choosing only top pair is having a major milestone with only a 20% probability of making a target hand is risky. Remember, this implies a break-even point of 5 players in the hand, so we want to maximize our chances of winning every time we attempt to draw to 2-pair. I didn't belabor the point earlier when I introduced the concept of milestones, but none of our whole cards have a very high probability of flopping a major milestone when playing only premium hands. Adjacent connectors have a 9% chance. suited hole cards 12%, pocket pairs 12%, and suited adjacent connectors 20% probability of flopping a major milestone. But when you include two pair in your list of target hands, you can include top pair as a major milestone. Doing so increases dramatically the hole card probabilities of flopping a major milestone. If we chart these improved probabilities, the result will clearly demonstrate which hole cards you should be playing. Let's start with pocket pairs. The first thing to notice is that pocket aces are ranked at 100%. That is, they're guaranteed to flop top pair. This doesn't mean that you're guaranteed to win the hand, of course. But it does imply that when drawing to two pair, pocket aces are the best hole cards to have. Let's arbitrarily define any hole cards with a probability of 33% or better to be worthy of calling the big blind. This means they'll receive correct pot odds when as few as 3 players pay to see the flop, which would be a rather tight game. Next, we'll define any hole cards with a 50% probability or better as being worthy of pre-flop raising. They'll receive correct pot odds when only 2 players are paying to see the flop. Using these criteria, the chart tells us that we can call the big blind with pocket nines or better, and we can pre-flop raise with pocket jacks or better. If the game were extremely loose, and I wanted to loosen up my play, I might, for example, reduce my minimum calling probability to 25%. Or if the game were tight, I could tighten up my play by raising it to, say, 40%. Lowering my standards would result in playing more hands, each of which had a lesser probability of flopping something playable, while raising it would imply playing fewer hands, each with more likelihood of flopping a milestone. Please refer to Appendix B for discussion of several more techniques for altering your game tightness. Now let's examine suited connectors. Assuming the 33% calling standard and 50% pre-flop raising standard, we see that we can call the big blind with 9-8 suited or better, and we can pre-flop raise with ace-king suited, king-queen suited, and queen-jack suited. Looking at suited connectors with one rank of separation, we can call with 10-8 suited or better, and pre-flop raise with queen-10 suited or better. And suited connectors with 2 ranks of separation, we can call with 10-7 suited or better, and raise with king-10 suited or better. Not surprisingly, we can safely play even fewer unsuited connectors. We can call with jack-10 unsuited or better, and raise with just ace-king unsuited. The number of playable hole cards continues downward with unsuited connectors with 1 rank of separation, calling with jack-9 or better, and raising with only ace-queen. And finally, when there are 2 ranks of separation, we can call with queen-9 unsuited or better, and pre-flop raise with none. Compared to the probabilities of flopping a major milestone toward a premium hand, including top pair among your major milestones has had a profound effect on your hole card's abilities to flop something playable. We see that instead of 9% with unsuited adjacent connectors, they now start at 5% and top out at 56%. As for suited hole cards, from now on, we'll only consider playing them if they're separated by 2 ranks or less. As such, they increase from 12% to at least 14% and go as high as 60% with ace-jack suited. Pocket pairs increase from 12% to at least 15% with pocket twos and to as much as 100% with pocket aces. And finally, suited adjacent connectors previously scored 20%, but now we see that 20% is the lowest we can expect, while ace-king suited tops out at 69%. These increased probabilities of flopping a major milestone frees you to seriously consider pre-flop raising for the first time. But this freedom comes with a price. When you raise pre-flop but fail to achieve top pair, a 4 straight, a 4 flush, or trips, you must cease all aggression immediately. This is likely to cause your opponents to wonder whether you really know what you're doing, but as we'll see in a later chapter, this is not necessarily a bad thing. All starting hands having greater than 50% probability of flopping a major milestone offer you correct pot odds to raise pre-flop, no matter how few players pay to see the flop. All such hole cards are listed in this table. There are 15 in all, which is a bit much to commit to memory. But we can summarize them as paired paint, that is, pocket pairs, aces down to jacks. Ace paint, basically ace-king unsuited down to ace-jack unsuited, and suited connected paint, or ace-king suited down to jack-10 suited. This just leaves the question of which starting hands are worth playing in general. If you arbitrarily decide that in order to call the big blind, you must have correct pot odds for as few as 3 players in the hand, the result is a list of hole cards with at least a 33% probability of flopping a major milestone. However, this list contains 17 such starting hands. But they can be summarized as suited Broadway connectors with up to 2 ranks of separation, so that's ace-jack suited down to 10-7 suited, unsuited Broadway connectors with up to 1 rank of separation, or ace-queen unsuited down to 10-8 unsuited, and Broadway pairs, ace-ace down to 10-10. And actually pocket nines are also playable. Calling with 33% and raising with 50% makes a good place to start, but you can of course set your own minimum standards according to game conditions. By now, you should be able to defend against all the threats coming from straights, flushes, and full houses. Unfortunately, there isn't much you can do about defending your 2 pair from trips in the form of a set. Just be aware that even if you have the nut 2 pair, you can't really be sure if someone has made a set, so bet with caution. Now let's review what we know about drawing to 2 pair. Adding 2 pair to your list of target hands allows you to add top pair to your list of major milestones. Your primary objective in playing lesser hands is to be seen playing them. That is, you are giving action so that you will receive action from your opponents. You are, in fact, advertising that you are not a rock. Because you now have a much greater probability of flopping a major milestone, you can justify pre-flop raising. The hole cards with which you can pre-flop raise are paired paint, ace paint, and suited connected paint. And the hole cards with which you can call pre-flop are Broadway pairs, suited Broadway connectors with up to 2 ranks of separation, and unsuited Broadway connectors with up to 1 rank of separation. Hello, this is Tyson Wood. Our goal here at Strategic Hold'em is simple: to help you play smarter poker. You can help us spread the word by sharing our web address with a friend. And you can help us keep the lights on at Strategic Hold'em by making a donation. We plan to continue our research and release more poker tutorials as new results come available. If you have any topic suggestions, please send them to feedback@strategichold'em.com. All your comments are welcome. We'd particularly like to hear about your most successful bluffing tactics. On behalf of the entire team at Strategic Hold'em, good luck and good hunting.